Breaking news, the state's first COVID-19 vaccination just took place at Queens Medical Center.
I'm honored. And just sharing the first 5 within the Queens Health Organization that have volunteered to be vaccinated.
Hawaii's first shipment of Pfizer's coronavirus vaccine arrived yesterday. Officials confirmed that all 975 doses will be given to Queens employees like this. Those who have direct contact with COVID patients will be among the first to get the shot.
And if you hear the quivering in my voice, it's real. It brings tears to my eyes when I know what they do every day. They've been here to take care of every patient, every family, and they have done that even though they have worried about their own safety and the safety of their families.
What an amazing sight to see their history being made here in the state. We have more breaking news coming in from the state. The latest coronavirus numbers just released, right, Ash?
That's right. Health officials are reporting 57 new coronavirus cases today and no new deaths. The breakdown by island shows the Big Island has 10 cases, Maui has 8, Oahu has 35, and 4 residents were diagnosed out of state. New today, the FDA has authorized the use for the first over-the-counter, fully at-home diagnostic test for COVID-19, and it does not require a prescription.
Here's what we know so far. It's an antigen test, which means it will detect proteins of the virus with a nasal swab. The sample is analyzed with a device that connects to a smartphone. The results will then be provided on an app in as little as 20 minutes. The FDA says it's authorizing it to be sold in places like drugstores and can be used with people as young as 2 years old. The Australian company that's making it, Illume, says it will cost around $30 and will be available in January.
Honolulu Mayor Kirk Caldwell says starting today, cases from prison inmates will no longer be counted in Oahu's tier system count.
Today, we talked with Department of Health and with Governor Ige about taking the prisoner population positivity out of our tier system count. It would still be counted for the overall number of cases and positivity. But in terms of our moving from tier to tier, having that removed for prisoners only, not for the guards or others who work there, because they do go home.
They'll still be in the state's daily tally, but inmate infections will not count against the city's tier numbers. Cases among prison correctional officers, however, will still be included in the tier system tally. Today, we have new details on the Department of Education's plan to furlough thousands of Hawaii teachers. This is all part of the governor's proposal to furlough state workers twice a month for at least a year starting January 4th. There will be 6 furlough days for 10-month workers, 1 in January, 1 in February, 2 in March, 1 in April, and 1 in June. 12-month employees will have to take 10 days. The 4 added days would be 1 more day in March and 3 in June.
So many local businesses have suffered for months amid the pandemic. Our Sammy Salina talked to Mayor-elect Rick Blangiardi about his plans for relief once he takes office.
We do know that the city relies on property taxes to help pay the bills here, but is there any chance that we could provide rent relief for business owners while still possibly collecting property taxes?
You know, I don't really know the answer to that. I think we're gonna examine everything. I know one of the things that maybe Mayor Caldwell alluded to this morning, I certainly had seen it in print. He's told me personally, I'm waiting for them to, as they get ready to leave office, to deal with a $400 million deficit that we just became aware of probably within the last month as we've been going through our integration plan. So, you know, even though the city is less volatile than the state when it comes to revenues because of property taxes, you know, at this point right now, we're still dealing with a shortfall, and I want to see how they balance that out. And we're going to have basically 30 days after we get in office to look at the budget. So, look, it's all hands on deck. We are in a crisis. We are moving hopefully forward on ending this health crisis, the arrival of the vaccines yesterday and everything else, as it's still going to take a while. But make no mistake about this. We'll be well done with the health crisis. It's still dealing with economic crisis. And that's why I'm careful to say right now, we recognize that. We're going to do everything possible. But at this point right now, I really don't have any magic answers on that, except to say we understand the gravitas of this in the most profound way.
Yeah, you know, one thing that business owners are bringing up is that these restrictions have made it really hard for them to be able to pay rent when there's only 50% capacity. Of course, tourism, it's still not back on its feet yet. What do you think of the restrictions in place? Is there anything that we can do to help businesses out?
Yeah, I've been on record of saying, yes. I'm sorry, Sam. I've been on record of saying I want to be, I think, more aggressive. We've had a number of phone calls lately. In fact, just in the last 10 days or so, Mike Formby and myself, our managing director, have been allowed to sort of been on some Zoom calls and be participating in what the medical intelligence, if you will, has been, paying beyond just the data reports on the incidence of the disease, how many people in hospital beds, et cetera, just trying to get a broader context. I mean, clearly, I think we're evolving to a time, hopefully, where we can tweak some of the tier situations on those numbers, hopefully after we get in office, and do so with the backing of the community and try to provide some relief that way. We're still far away from all clear, but we're feeling hopeful that we've got movement in that direction planned, and we'll do everything we possibly can. At the end of the day, the state still makes the rules on this. We'll still have to work through Dr. Char, but I'm hopeful that the data and the science is such that we can move forward. I really am.
I know you're going to have a lot on your plate when you come into office, but in terms of businesses, is there anything that you're going to tackle on first thing when you get into office in terms of providing relief, providing help for the businesses?
Yeah, well, I think, look, businesses, when we talk about that, are people, right? And we're talking about jobs. We're talking about, all the things that we've been speaking about for months, coming to a critical point here as the year comes to a close. So I said all along the handoff and the transition was going to be a tough one. People were looking for long-term visionary statements from a mayor. And I said, our best efforts are going to be to take on the problems right up front and deal with the problems. That is the vision for now. And the fact is, once we get in, we're going to do everything and anything we possibly can to alleviate the circumstances. Again, we're going to need help from the federal government. We're going to look at that. The state is in dire straits, as we know. The governor's been clear about that. They've got furloughs pending. Money's extremely tight. I was on some phone calls last night. So the best I can offer at this point right now is that awareness, and that we're going to do everything we possibly can to help the situation, understanding what's at stake right now.
Almost all of the $1.25 billion in Federal CARES Act aid has been spent or allocated by the state ahead of today's key deadline to check in on the funds. Lawmakers say the money was used to pay for COVID-19 testing, quarantine sites, the restaurant cards, and a significant amount went to help small businesses. About $58 million has not been allocated, so it will go to the Labor Department to help replenish unemployment insurance, which was depleted during the first shutdown.
If any funds are left over as of December 28th, the remnants will be transferred into the UI trust fund. So the legislature made sure that every single cent is spent.
There are millions, I would argue hundreds of millions of dollars that the state has expended that were completely unbudgeted, that would be an eligible incurred cost that those resources could go to.
Honolulu, the county that received the most money, more than $387 million, is using all of it, according to the mayor's office. 54% went to help small businesses, another chunk went to health and safety, 17% on PPE, and setting up testing sites. Hawaii has relaxed tourism restraints, but tourists still seem to be concerned about COVID risks. Howard Dykes has more.
Honolulu is getting about 4,000 arrivals a day. That's not much different from November. Maui's getting about 2,000. That's about a third of normal. The Big Island is getting about 1,000 a day. That's down 56% from last year. Kauai, which of course has been opting out of pre-testing, is down 93%. Fewer than 2,000 for the whole month since December began. 2,000 rooms start coming back online today with the reopening of Hilton Hawaiian Village, the largest hotel in the state. Full operation, however, could take a while. The village relies heavily on international traffic, whose direct flights are mostly not restored yet. Larry Ellison didn't just buy Lanai, he actually moved there. Ellison said that when Oracle employees, told that the company was moving its headquarters to Austin, Texas, wanted to know if he would also relocate.
To developing news, Japan says it has more COVID patients in intensive care right now than ever before. Let's turn to Paula Hancock with more on the surge that's hitting Asia.
With close to 900 new daily coronavirus cases here in South Korea, officials are seriously considering raising those social distancing measures to the highest level. Currently in the Greater Seoul area, where the majority of the outbreaks are happening, it is at 2.5. They are considering raising that to 3, and if they do, that means that everyone has to work from home, apart from essential personnel. It means that all schools and all churches go online. Now, the Prime Minister said they don't want to miss the window for making that decision, but they also don't want to make a hasty decision, knowing the impact that is going to have on the economy. Also, hundreds of military personnel have been dispatched this week to health centres around the Greater Seoul area, and they will start to help with the contact tracing process. Now, meanwhile, in Japan, they have just reported their highest number of patients in intensive care since the pandemic began, saying it is now at 588. Also this week, they have temporarily cancelled the government travel subsidy scheme. This was really an effort to try and convince Japanese people to travel internally, to boost domestic tourism and also to boost the economy. But they have decided to temporarily put that on hold because of the high numbers that they are reporting from that country. In addition, when it comes to the Olympics, an NHK poll which spoke to 1,200 people by phone found that 32% of those who replied believe that the Olympics should be cancelled. 31% believe that the Olympics should be postponed again. It's already been postponed from July of this year to July of next year. But the interesting figure is 27% of those who replied said it should go ahead. Now, just a couple of months ago in October, that number was 40%. So we're seeing that as the numbers of cases and those in intensive care rise in Japan, then there are more reservations about holding the Olympics. Paula Hancock, CNN Seoul.
Thanks, Paula. I'm still holding out hope for those Olympics games, for sure. Right here on KHNO, if they do happen. Guys, we're going to switch gears here just a bit because there is a threat of severe weather for parts of the state. Let's turn it over to Guy Hoggy with the very latest.
How's it on this Tuesday? A stormy, juicy disturbance is heading for Kauai. Kauai could get some thunderstorms by this afternoon, but this disturbance is expected to move up before reaching the rest of the state. However, another disturbance down to the south expected to bring more clouds, more showers, maybe some thunderstorms for the east end of the state, Maui and the Big Island by tomorrow. And that disturbance to the south could linger for a couple of days, maybe even through Friday. Now, those winds are going to be a little bit stronger today than yesterday. Right now, they're soft and scrambled. But as the day progresses, easterly winds are expected to pick up to breezy levels to about 15 to 20 today. Don't expect a whole lot of sunshine. We will have cloudy skies today pretty much across state. And the biggest threat for rain is over on Kauai. But there will be a few minor windward and Mauka showers for the rest of the state. And there's still a chance for coastal flooding over the next several early mornings, probably until the weekend. Now, the big swell that came up yesterday is on the way down. It's below advisory levels. Conditions are clean right now. And we've got another bigger swell coming in maybe tomorrow night all the way through Thursday with more swells behind that. So the country wave machine is on full blast. So again, chance for thunderstorms for Kauai today, otherwise cloudy skies. More showers due for the east end of the state on Wednesday, and some of that disturbance moving up towards Oahu Thursday and Friday. And there is a possibility for heavy rain all the way through Friday. Drier conditions with breezy winds due back on Saturday. We'll have more details on air and online.
New at noon, after a 9-month-long closure due to the pandemic, Hawaii's famous and iconic Diamond Head State Monument reopens this Thursday at 6 a.m. New vehicle and pedestrian traffic controls and health and safety protocols will be in effect.
New at noon, the monarch butterfly will have to wait longer to receive protection under the Endangered Species Act. The U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service tells the Associated Press that the black and orange butterfly's population has fallen enough to qualify for listing as a threatened or endangered species. But other species with a higher priority must be considered first. Officials plan to propose listing the monarch in 2024 unless its situation improves. They say a nationwide volunteer effort to restore habitat for the butterfly is helping some, but environmental groups say it's not enough. By the way, I had to look this up. The Hawaiian monarch butterfly is not a unique species. It's the same found on the American mainland.
Dramatic video from a beach in Australia as a dog disappears in a huge sea of bubbles. Ian Lee has more on the rescue.
It's a moment of panic as a family frantically searches for their dog in a thick sea of foam. But fear quickly turns to pure joy as Hazel bounces above the brown bubbles and is scooped up. Rough weather with wild winds has whipped up the suds across Australia's northeastern coast over the past few days, luring kids.
It was very fun.
And those who are kids at heart.
I've never seen anything like this before.
Scientists say the unusual sight is nothing to make waves about.
When we, stir soap up in a basin of water, it foams up, and that's exactly what happens when these degrading organisms get stirred up by the wind and the waves, and we get sea foam.
Creating the perfect conditions for a foam party. Ian Lee, CBS News, London.
Yay, Hazel's okay. You guys remember us talking about these ugly sweaters that aren't so ugly? They're pretty adorable from Microsoft. Well, they were selling for about $70, and they all go to help support STEM education in girls, specifically the nonprofit Girls Who Code. And they're not the only ones anymore, right, Ashley?
That's right. Alaska Airlines is doing something similar, and they sent us these snazzy numbers. Jonathan will model while explain
Mine's
the
a little
program.
snug. Sorry.
So this year, the airline is selling ugly sweaters, and all proceeds from the sales will benefit people with food vulnerability. Now, the funds will be donated to the United Way Ride United Fund, which will help deliveries from local food banks and food pantries go to seniors and families in need and all those other people that need the help during the holidays. And you can buy a sweater at Alaska's online store, and they're just $30.
And they're warm, too.
They are. It's freezing. If you've never been to the H&N studios, it's freezing in here, so
Well,
nice
they're not
and warm now.
the only local brand that you can include in your holiday stocking. Check these out from Uniqlo, which I can never pronounce, but it's at Ala Moana Center, and they have these really cool collaboration that they call the Brands Collection, and you can see some Hawaiian Airlines vintage logos there, some Cookie Company. I got another round I'm gonna pull up here. Check out these local brands. We got Leonard's, and we got some Mac Nuts.
That's awesome.
I love these, and you won't believe I'm not selling them here, but some are under $10. So really, really good stocking stuffer suggestion there for you.
Absolutely. And speaking of clothing lines, check this out. Two best friends on Kauai are now business partners, and they're only kids. So Jim Mendoza has more on the young girls who started their own athletic wear line.
This slick video advertises a new line of athletic wear called Beat Athletica. Even more impressive is the story behind the startup.
My name's Chloe Ainon.
The company's co-founders are just kids. Chloe Ainon is 12, and her best friend Zaylee Demaray is 13.
We get really excited when we see people that we don't know wearing our clothes.
The girls are avid athletes. Zaylee's a gymnast. Chloe plays soccer and volleyball. The idea to create their own clothes came as the pandemic interrupted their organized sports.
It started off super small and as a project, and then it turned into an actual business.
The girls design the clothing, work with a manufacturer, and package orders. Their parents help run the business, but it's really their responsibility.
We've watched them from the beginning to now, and I feel like they've grown so much.
Both girls have health issues. Chloe has a heart defect, and Zaylee has epilepsy. The beat in their brand name represents their heartbeats and the beeps on the medical monitors at checkups.
Even though that they both have these problems, they're both very active, and they didn't allow their health issues to limit their activities.
Zaylee and Chloe sell their products online and at pop-ups, and they donate some of their proceeds to the Children's Heart Foundation and the Epilepsy Foundation. They have big plans to grow their small business.
I would really like to get more styles and have a men's line.
You can check out their story and their athletic wear at beatathletica.com. Jim Mendoza, Hawaii News Now.
Awesome story. Let's get to some more good news now. Check this out, guys. 25 movies have been added to the Library of Congress National Film Registry. Titles include one of my favorites, Dark Knight from 2008, And then 1980s, the Blues Brothers from Illinois. Gotta love them. And 1978, not one of my favorites, but someone else's, Grease.
I still
the
can't believe
musical.
that, Jonathan. What's wrong with you?
I'm sorry.
It's so good.
I'll maybe someday give it another shot. They were selected for their cultural, historical, and aesthetic importance. So some other folks agree with you there, Ashley.
Absolutely. 3 great movies right there. And Chris Pine, you guys, is reportedly set to star in Dungeons and Dragons. Now, Paramount and E1 is planning to adapt the fantasy role-playing game into a new movie. Hasbro is also co-producing and co-financing the film. Dungeons and Dragons is set to be released in 2022. Now, I've always heard of Dungeons and Dragons, but I didn't really understand what it was until I started watching The Big Bang Theory. And I gotta say,
it looks really fun. I played Magic before, but it's sort of similar.
You definitely need a very big imagination.
Yeah, and it's huge in Stranger Things too.
Yeah.
You guys, we were always talking about Mariah on the show, and we got another update for you, right?
That's right. So not surprising, her holiday hit, All I Want for Christmas Is You, has once again skyrocketed to the top of the latest Billboard Global 200 chart based on streaming and sales from more than 200 territories worldwide. Now, the 1994 song also tops Billboard's US-based Hot 100, just as it did last year. Talk about the gift that keeps on giving, huh, John?
Right, and we mentioned it before. She came out with a new music video that was actually an archival one earlier this year. She has a Christmas special out very soon, so I'm gonna have to check into that.
And she has cookies. She has a cookie line too.
No way.
Mm-hmm.
I wonder what
Mariah's
flavors.
cookies.
Yeah, I would try them out. And then everyone's talking about Dolly's Christmas special right now, and I know they were making fun of it on SNL a little bit this weekend, but I need to check that out. Also, Holly Dolly Christmas. It's got to be a hit already.
Can't go wrong.
Yeah.
And First Lady Melania Trump visited the Children's National Hospital in Washington today. The annual event was significantly scaled back for the pandemic, of course, and the First Lady arrived wearing a mask, and she practiced social distancing, as did the other attendees. Now, the First Lady read a Christmas book to 2 children in person, while the event was live streamed to patients in their hospital rooms.
Yeah, and for our podcast listeners, she's wearing this amazing emerald jacket, just letting you know that it's very cold for many of our friends on the mainland right now, right? And I know there's even, when we were walking in, I heard over our intercom speaker with all the feeds, it said that the governor of New York was giving a press conference about snow, which made me think, man, am I lucky to live in Hawaii.
Absolutely.
Right?
You don't miss that Midwest
Nope.
winters?
Nope. You guys, that's going to do it for This Is Now. Don't forget, we're podcasting every day. So all you have to do is wherever you find your podcast, you just search Hawaii News Now. A bunch are going to pop up. Please follow us. Give us a try. And don't forget, we're going to have much more coverage on those first vaccines that were just administered. We told you that as breaking news at the top of the show at Queens Medical Center. We posted some video on our Facebook page already. There's a story written up there on our H&N Digital platform, so just check it out. You guys, we're going to keep